Good morning, all of you. Everyone ready for this session? Yeah? So, today's our session. We will going to start Unit 12. In Unit 12, we know about Gullivers. So, at first, we start our session with the previous knowledge. Today's introduction of this session. Previous knowledge. In previous knowledge, we had done about fiction and non-fiction. So, in the previous lecture, we had seen a video. We at first saw a trailer of a movie in which penguins were talking and playing with. We know in real life is not possible. So it is based on imagination. And that is why it is called fiction. And then later on we saw a video of a non-fiction. And this video was from National Geography, in which we learned about life of penguin, and it was based on real life experience and occurring also, that is known as a non-fictional. I know and I hope you can now understand and know difference between fiction and non-fiction more clearly. Then know about a Gulliver. So this story is based on Gulliver. Gulliver is the giant land. This story in exact which means only a part of a whole other story. The main story name is Voyage to Lilliput. Do you know that voyage means journey? There are total 4 parts of the whole Gulliver story. Each part of the 4 contains a story about an adventure occurring at the place Gulliver traveled to. The second, third, and final part, a voyage, we learn. A voyage to the land of. Each story, Gulliver is the protagonist, means the hero, positive character, and the antagonist keep changing according to the story. This story containing the adventure of journey of Gulliver. This is the place, as I mentioned in this, about the time he spent there. Then we saw the origin title of the Gulliver story was the travel into several remote nations of the world, and written by Jonathan Swift. And here is, we already started our story, and story about a Gulliver's, about dwarf and proud of our nation, and then about a Gulliver. We already started our unit this Gulliver's travel. So we know one new words, and word was dwarf. So what's the meaning of and how it's look like? And we see in this lecture. And after all, due to dwarf, our nation got proud, and we seen proud of our nation. So at first we see about the proud story of Gulliver. page number 108. Then at first I want to say that what's the meaning of what is a dwarf? A person of unusually small stature means a growth. A person whose height does not exceed 4 and is typically less than 4 to 5 2. And animals or plants much below normal size. So, and mostly when we talk about dwarf, mostly we saw this character and we know about this character from fairy tales, fiction, role playing, sometimes drama, and mostly on circus. So when we see this image, we remember the circus. So in this circus, we saw this character, and this character gave us enjoyment, entertain our all the time. Mostly we see drop in circus and people with dwarfism were a major attraction of many circus side show. So, do you know that in this yes, it's called a dwarf. Her height is less than a normal man and woman. Then, if you know that in our India, there is a one place, there is a one village known as a all the people live in this place, and this place is Amargaon, and it is in Assam. So mostly we think that dwarf only entertain in circus, but it is not enough here. This dwarf also make our nation proud, and here is they also active and got a medal trophy in the sports. You can see here height over height Indian dwarf athletes make nation proud with historical 37 medals at World Games. Let me know more about their achievement. Other they got gold medals and other golden performance. Here is given. In Bangalore, one gold in 200m race, and Devappa Moore won the 100m golds. Altogether, they made all Indians proud. So, we have to change our thinking, and we have to come out from the circus and think that they can also do, dwarf can also do in each and every fields their performance. You can see here all the dwarfs, and they are our nation's proud of our nation. So here is we start our unit, and in this unit 12 and Gulliver. So, we already started this lesson. Here is we see proud of our nation. So, move on our story. Let we start our story from page number 108. We already discussed this paragraph, but we revise this. And let we start from textbook page number 108. I am a Gulliver, a sailor. I have visited many strange islands. Once I visited an island of drops called Lilliput. I was a giant among the Lilliputians. Then I landed on an island of giants where I was a drop. Let me tell you about my experience about the island of giants. I was trying to find a gap in the hedge when I discovered one of the giants in the next field walking towards the fence. I was struck with fear and ran to hide myself. He called in a voice much louder than a trumpet. It sounded like a thunder. 7 monsters like him came towards the field ready to rip the corn. They carried a ripping hook which was very big. When one of the rippers approached where I lay down, I lay hidden. I screamed as loud as I could. The creature stopped ripping, picked me up between his thumb and forefinger, and brought me close to his eyes. 60 feet above the ground, he took at me with curiosity and blew my hair aside to get a better view of my face. In this paragraph, we learn about the so many new words also. So, let me know more about from this paragraph. In this chapter, Gulliver himself is the narrator, means the one who tells the story. He is sharing the story as his real life experience, which actually is a fictional. He begins the story with a little introduction of himself. Gulliver was a sailor. Here you can see he often sailed us along the world and visited strange villages. Once he visited a village of drops. Yes, you can see where the villagers, means people who live in the village, were really very small. You can see here. This village name was Lilliput. And the people residing, means living in this village, were called Lilliputians, who were drops, and to the Gulliver was a giant man. You can see here that how look Gulliver and the other people look like. They look like a so small drop. So you can see here a small man. But what happened with Gulliver? In this time, another time he visited a land of giants. You can see here this image, and you can see that all the people look giant and Gulliver like a dwarf. In this village, the villagers were very giant, and to them Gulliver was a very little man. Here Gulliver is sharing his experience when he visited this village. He was once trying to find a gap in the hedge. As he was moving around in the farm to find the gap, he saw he saw that huge giant man walking towards him. He was shaken by fear and was trying to hide himself. The giant man spoke and his voice was very loud. His voice sounded like a voice louder than trumpet. Do you know how look like trumpet? Yes, mostly you can see here this type of instrument in parties, yeah, and musical parties also. So it's look like this. It's called a trumpet. So here is the giant man spoke and his voice was very loud. His voice sounded like a voice louder than that of trumpet. And the same moment he saw other 7 giant men who looked like monster, who was very little compared to the giant man. Here, these giant men were coming to rip the corn. Rip means to cut other or gather the part of the plant which is ready to be eaten. They carried they carried they carried a Gulliver, and nor here is this. These giant men were coming to rip the corn. Rip means to cut or gather the part of the plant which is ready to be eaten. They carried a ripping hook which was very large. Maybe it was normal size for the giant man, but to Gulliver it was a very huge hook which they used to rip. He suddenly started screaming at the top of his voice as he saw one of these men coming towards him. The giant man picked up Gulliver between his thumb and forefinger. And here is the Gulliver was screaming at the top of his voice. He saw one of these men coming towards him. The giant man picked up Gulliver between his thumb and forefinger. He brought Gulliver near his eyes to scrutinize Gulliver, who screamed very different to the giant man. Here is what scrutinize means analyze. In the process, he blew Gulliver's hair in order to get a better view of his face and satisfy the curiosity. Gulliver was held 60 feet above the ground by the giant man. Here as you can see all the villagers, giant, and our Gulliver is like a dwarf. Here is we complete our session, and rest of our story we will discuss in our next session.